In the last 2 hours editorial, new Cuba president is chance for new start. Cuban will continue to be an example. This is not the end of an era in Cuba. In the last 4 hours, Saharaui president congratulates new Cuban president HRH. Crown Prince congratulates Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel. Belarusian President congratulates Diaz-Canel. Make the summit of the Americas Great Again. Putin congratulates Cuba's new president on his election. Kremlin Analysis. Castro bows out in Cuba but Cold War chill returns with U.S. Castro bows out in Cuba but Cold War chill returns with U.S. In the last 6 hours, Castro steps down in Cuba. So what? Parlatino congratulates new Cuban president. South Africa. President Ramaphosa congratulates the new president of Cuba. Raúl Castro says he trusts new president will succeed. Cubans face the end of the Castro era. In the last 8 hours, Cuban leadership changes. But that's all for now. World leaders congratulate new Cuban President Díaz-Canel. There will be no room in Cuba for capitalism. Unity of Cubans the main weapon, affirm Raúl Castro and Diaz-Canel. China congratulates Cuba on election of new president. FM earlier today. Real change will take time in Cuba president congratulates the president of Cuba. Cuba's leadership transition presents a historic choice for U.S. policy. Lukashenko. Strategic cooperation with Cuba has a huge potential. China congratulates Cuba on election of new president. Ilham Aliyev congratulates chairman of State Council of Cuba. Cuban president blasts U.S.-led strikes on Syria. Pence mocks Raúl Castro after election. Looks like you're the one leaving. Cubans grumble at pace of reforms. Miguel Diaz-Canel, son of Cuban Revolution, takes power. Cuba without Castro brothers. What to wait for? Expert believes Cuba's policy towards Russia will not change. The Castro era ends in Cuba, but the U.S. says nothing to celebrate. Cuba's Raúl Castro hands over power to Miguel Diaz-Canel as Raúl Castro steps aside. A new era for Cuba. A new Cuban leader steps out from under the shadow of the Castros. U.S.-Cuba relations to remain unchanged under new Cuban president. First clues emerge about Cuba's future under new president Miguel Diaz-Canel. Sworn in as Cuba's new president. The latest. Pence tweets response to Cuba's Raúl Castro. Cuba marks end of an era as Castro hands over to Diaz-Canel. Cuba's new leader vows to defend Castro revolutionary legacy. The end of Cuba's Castro era is an opportunity for Trump. Don't expect policy shift with new Cuban leader. Abdullah Castro rule ends in Cuba after 59 years as Raúl hands over power. We love Cuba, President Trump says after new Cuban president named. Newsrooms use elected to describe farcical reshuffling of power in Cuba. Raúl Castro expresses confidence in new leaders of Cuban revolution. Cuba's new president Diaz-Canel vows communism will go on after the Castros. What do Cubans want from this new era? Mario Diaz-Canel Bermudez takes over as Cuba's new president. Cuba's new president, just a rebranding of repression. She congratulates Miguel Diaz-Canel on election as Cuba's new president. Cuba's new president sworn in. Fact box. Who's who at the top of Cuba's new government yesterday? Diaz-Canel as Cuba's new president. Why not much will change in Cuba under Diaz-Canel? Cuban exiles react to new Cuban president video. Cuban exiles react to new Cuban president. Angolan president congratulates new president of Cuba. Raúl Castro retires as Cuban president. Outlines future. Cuban exiles react to new Cuba president video. Cuban exiles react to new Cuba president. Curtain falls on Cuba's Castro era with new president. Spanish radio GM reflects on life in Cuba. Historic transition. Cuba's parliament picks Castro's successor. Cubans have high hopes for their little-known new leader. World leaders congratulate Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel elected as new president of Cuba. Newsrooms use elected to describe farcical shift of power in Cuba. Why Bezos really bought the Washington Post and other comments. End of an era. Cuban President Raúl Castro steps down. What Cuba's new president hopes to accomplish. Cuba officially being led by non-Castro for first time since 1959.